Hi, today we are going to teach you about the dial caliper. We're going to first show you the different parts of the caliper. Then we're going to show you how to re-zero the caliper. And then finally we're going to go over how to actually use the caliper. The 7 parts are the measuring contacts, dial calipers, locking screw, bezel clamp, fine adjusting roll, bar, and depth rod. Right here we have the outside measuring contacts, left and right, the inside measuring contacts, left and right, the indicator dial, the locking screw, and the fine adjusting roll. To re-zero the dial caliper, you need to move your minor adjustments all the way back so the calipers touch each other. If you notice, it is off slightly. Adjust the screw by loosening, and then grab the bezel and twist it so the zero lines up. After you line it up, tighten it back up so it doesn't move. And then bring it back out with your minor adjustments, and then go back in, just tightening it, and then it should stop right on 0, which it did. That is how you re-zero a dial caliper.
Alright, this video is going to focus on actually reading and communicating the results off the dial caliper. So if we look at this is a virtual dial caliper found at www.stefanelli.engineering.br. Real nice learning aid, real nice tool. You can go ahead and check this website out on your own when you get the chance. The first thing I want to concentrate on here, talk about, is reading our results. And if we look at our number down here, we have 3 values to the right of the decimal place. That's the tens, the hundredths, and the thousands. Seeing that the thousandths is the last value, all of our results will be communicated in thousandths of an inch. If the hundredths was our last value, it would be communicated in hundredths of an inch. And if the tens were the last value, we would communicate in tenths of an inch, excuse me. So let's talk about this real quick. We've got various components here that we've already discussed in this video, and I think that by this time you should be familiar with the dial caliper itself, and hopefully you're starting to catch on and understanding how to read this. And one of the sections of the video we talked about zeroing it. If you look at this here, the dial caliper is zeroed, and we're going to go ahead and take a reading off of this. We'll do a couple of them together, and then I'll have you do 5 of them on your own. So we're going to take our reading off the scale portion and off of the dial itself. Get going here, and I'm just going to choose a random value in here. So this looks like a random value. If we look down here at the number and we were to read this number, it would be 767 thousandths of an inch. And where we get those from is the scale and the dial. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. If we go through the scale here and we look at, here's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, and you notice here the 7 on the scale is the last number we pass, so we're going to go ahead and place that 7 in our tenths placeholder. And then we're going to read the dial here, and if we read the dial, we start at 0, and this dial's gone all the way around to 67. So we just record those numbers after our 7, and we end up with 767 thousandths. Okay, 767 thousandths. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to read one that actually has a placeholder on the left side of the decimal point. So we'll go to something a little bit trickier here. We'll do something like this. Alright, so let's take a look at this one. Right now, looking at the scale here, we're past the 1, and we've gone past the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. However, this gets a little tricky. We're not quite past the 5. Alright, so we have 1.4. Okay, so we get the 1 from right here on the scale. 1.4, and we get the 4 from right here. And then we go to the dial for our last little bit of reading here, and we end up with 9/6. So we have 1 and 496 thousandths of an inch. Okay? 1 and 496 thousandths of an inch. Alright, so the next 5 you're going to do on your own. I'm going to go ahead and move this down, and I'll have you go ahead and read these. Okay, so we'll start with something here below the 1, and I'll give you a minute. Go ahead and record your answer. Take some time. Remember, read the scale, and then read the dial, and then put those numbers into the placeholders. If we look at this, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're not quite past the 6. So that's going to leave me with 0.5, and then we need to read the dial, and we have 90 on the dial. 0.590 is the number, and then we would read or communicate those results as 590 thousandths of an inch. Okay. Next one. Go ahead and take a minute to read this and record your answer. Okay, on this one, we're past the 1 on the scale, so we have 1 point, and look at the scale here. We're past the 9. Now don't get confused, we're not past the 2. So, past the 9 here, 1.9, and then we'll read the dial, 98. 1.998, that is 1 and 998 thousandths of an inch. Okay, so that's the second one. This will be your third reading. Go ahead and take a minute to read that and record your answer. Alright, for this one, once again, let's look at the scale. We're starting at 0. We're past the 1, so we have 1 point. Past this one, 1.1, and then we go to the dial, 7.1. There. So we have 1.171. That reads 1 and 171 thousandths of an inch. Okay. Let's go to the fourth one. We'll have to scroll up here a little bit. Alright. Take a minute to read that and record your answer. On this one, we're at still in the 0 on the scale, so 0.123, so 0.3, and then we go to the dial here and we read our dial, 0.324, and we add that right onto the end of the 0.3, so we should be at 0.324, and that's read 324 thousandths of an inch. Alright, last one here. Something a little different. Okay, for this last one, go ahead and record your answer, and then we'll talk about this. Alright, on this last one, this is something that we haven't seen yet, so this might throw a couple of people off, but don't be frustrated. This is all part of learning. So if we look at this, We are past the 1 here. So we're at 1 point. However, we have not passed the 1 on the scale here. So we're at 1.0. And we have not passed 10 on this scale. So we're at 1.003. Okay? 1.003. That is red. 1 inch and 3 thousandths of an inch.
There you have it. We talked about the parts of the dial caliper. We showed you how to re-zero the dial caliper. And lastly, we showed you how to read and understand how to use a dial caliper. Your next step is to get out there and start measuring. Have fun.